All right, well, welcome everybody. We're so excited to be here today, and I am going to hand it over to Rafi to introduce our speaker, Lisa.
Hello, everyone. So I'm Rafi. I'm an ICF program committee member and also a career and leadership coach. Thanks to Lisa, actually. So I'm really honored and excited to introduce Lisa Kaplan. I was lucky enough to meet Lisa as she was the lead trainer in my first 3-day course at iPad Coach Training. And that experience was clearly transformational, not only for me, but for everyone in the room. And there were like 60 plus of us, I believe, Lisa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was wondering, if you want to be able to know, how she can do it, how she can raise the level of energy and be so transformational for us, right? Maybe she can give us a clue today, right? So Lisa Kaplan obviously is well known, and I don't know if I really need to introduce her, but she's a psychologist and a professional certified coach. She holds a master and doctoral degree in psychology and received her coaching training from iPad Coaching, an international ICF certified coach training program. So Lisa is a lead trainer for iPad and a young executive coach for the Center of Creative Leadership and a trainer for the American Management Association. So with that, Lisa, thank you so much for being here, and please take it away.
Thank you, Rafi. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm really excited to be here. Let me just start with the tale of two organizations. It was about March 20th, 2020, and the whole world got some pretty scary news that we were essentially shutting down. One organization that I've worked with said, "Oh no, a pandemic. We don't know what to do. We train live. We see people in person. We can't possibly do this virtual thing. Oh no, this is horrible." And pretty much stopped working. They let 2/3 of their staff go, stopped working for quite a while. Organization number two said, a pandemic. Interesting. What can we do with the pandemic? Well, we've been thinking about going virtual for a while. Let's go virtual. And they went virtual. Not only did they not let any of their employees go, they hired people and fully virtual within 2 weeks of making that announcement and that decision. So, what's the difference? The difference is energy. And I'm going to talk to you about energy and leadership and what that really means. And when I talk about leadership, I'm talking about any type of leadership, how we raise our kids to how we run an organization to how we show up as coaches is what I really mean by leadership. So today I'm going to talk to you about this concept, energy leadership, which is at the heart and soul of iPad coaching. And it's based on the concept energy leadership by Bruce D. Schneider through iPad coaching. Bruce did 20 plus years of research to come up with the theory that we use at iPad coaching that really shows us how to coach and the theory behind how we coach. I was very attracted to it as a psychologist. It has a very deep spiritual connection to it, and I want to share the concepts with all of you. So let's talk about the concept of energy. So let me ask you all, who wants more energy? Raise your hand. More energy? Really? Well, let's see. Let's check that out in a minute. Because at IPEC, we talk about two different types of energy. We talk about anabolic energy and catabolic energy. Let's look at the difference. Catabolic energy, what is it? It's really the fight, flight, freeze response. It's really a tearing down, a draining, a resisting, a destructive energy. That all sounds fairly negative. It's not. It's part of who we are as humans. It's part of the human experience. However, think about it. If you hung out in this catabolic energy or the fight, flight, freeze response for a long period of time, what might happen? You're probably not going to make clear decisions. You're probably going to be pretty exhausted, burnt out, not finding joy in most any situation in your life. Now, it's normal to spend a little bit of time in catabolic energy, but a lot of time is when things start to get very rocky. The other side of this is anabolic energy. What's anabolic energy? It's not the fight, flight, or freeze response. It's growth producing, it's constructive, it's building, it's healing. So now when I ask you, and you can answer in the chat, by the way, who wants more energy? Maybe you'll say, yes, but I only want one of those. Maybe I want a little more of the anabolic energy versus the catabolic energy. So let's put this into real life for a second to see what this looks like. Take a minute, and by the way, don't blurt any names out here, just in case somebody knows you. Think about somebody you know, or maybe it's a few people you know, who drain your energy. Again, don't say any names out loud. Like, don't say mom or anything like that. Okay, think about people who drain your energy. Now go ahead in the chat, tell me descriptions of the people who drain your energy. Descriptions of people who drain your energy, and you can put it in the chat. Negative. Grumpy, I love grumpy. Victim, complainers, play the victim. Yes, manipulative. I swore someone said family. I just have to go back and check that. They take all the oxygen out of the room. Yes, complaining, needy. Yes, not willing to help. Oh, family, you did put family. That's hysterical. Not willing to help themselves. They act like Eeyore. Love it. Self-focused. They complain. They're always retelling bad stories. Isn't that the truth? I have a friend that you could say, today's the best day ever. And she'd say, yes, but 5 years ago on this day it rained. And it was a sad day for everybody. Vampiric. Victim, someone else's fault. Boring. Micromanagers. Take. Complainers. I think you all got it based on your responses here. I think you all got it. So now take a minute and think about somebody who inspires you and the qualities that someone who inspires you, the qualities they have, somebody who inspires you. They say, I don't know, positive, spiritual. I thought I saw, oh, there's a COVID, right? Someone who's the negative, they tell you how bad their COVID vaccine reaction is right before you go yourself. Okay, so on the other side of this, let's see, we have spiritual, positive, uplifting, happy, caring, optimistic, others-oriented, sense of humor, loving, positive, connected, confident, motivating, uplifting. Leaders like our ICF team. That's so nice, Lori. Lighthearted, not stressed, creative, positive, unconditional love, resilient, open-minded, easy, sees the silver lining. Wow, these are fantastic. Let's see, caring, good listener, hopeful, flexible, excellent, gets back up even when it's hard. Exactly. So when I told you the tale of two organizations, one organization really operated from catabolic energy and the other organization from anabolic energy. So when we talk about energy, that's really what we mean. So let's put this energy concept into a little more detail, a little more action of how we use it, not just as coaches, but as humans. So most of us know just the basic cognitive behavioral model that our thoughts lead to our feelings, which leads to our actions, right? A basic model, we see this as a basic coaching model, but at IPEC, we take this a step further, and this is where we start to apply the energy concept. How do we take it further? We look back to, where did those thoughts come from? They didn't just come out of thin air. They came from something. They came from an experience in your life. They came from where you're at right now. They came from history or a current situation you're in. So the thoughts came from somewhere. And when we start to understand where those thoughts came from, we can then figure out how to change the thoughts that lead to the feelings, which leads to the actions. And we know that catabolic thoughts lead to catabolic feelings, lead to anabolic actions, and anabolic thoughts lead to anabolic feelings, which lead to anabolic actions. So we really step back, and that stepping back is how we look at energy. And when we talk about energy, we're really talking about consciousness. And so let's think about consciousness for a minute. What is consciousness? It's not what we think, it's how we think. It's how we think about what we think is consciousness. And so when we're aware of where our thoughts came from, we actually have the ability and the opportunity to change how we think about something and what we think about something. There's such power in that ability. And it allows us as coaches, but also just as humans, to really change from the root of something. So if we just change our thoughts, it's helpful. Like it's a bad day out versus it's a nice day out. That's helpful. But if I understand why I thought it was a bad day, I'm actually changing the root cause of what led to my believing it was a bad day. So at IPEC, we go through 7 levels of energy that go from pretty much 100% catabolic to 100% anabolic. What I loved about the 7 levels and how I use it with my clients is to start to address or identify what energy level I'm experiencing. And then, most importantly, to say, is that the one I want to experience? And if not, I 100% have the control to decide that. So I'm going to take you through the 7 levels. As we go through, I'll ask you for examples how these might be showing up for you or for clients or maybe for people you know, as apparently you know a lot of people experiencing both catabolic and anabolic energy. We listen for these in order to really get focused on our coaching. So when I hear one of these energy levels, I can think, I know how to ask some questions. I know how to identify this with my client, not as a diagnostic tool in any way, but rather an awareness tool. So let's take a look at the 7 levels. Let's start with essentially the 100%, almost 100% catabolic energy level, and that's level 1. Here it is. When we think of in terms of winning, losing, level 1 is I lose. It's pretty much I always lose. The thoughts we have are that we're a victim, and it doesn't mean we're a victim of a crime. It means we feel as if we are at the effect of something in our world, in our environment. The feelings we have are apathy, and the actions essentially lethargy, like whatever, I give up. So here's a question. How many of you sometime over the last year have experienced some level 1 energy about, let's say, a pandemic? I don't know. Anybody? Exactly. Most of us have. Of course, it's totally normal to have had that type of reaction. Where else do you see level 1 showing up for you, for maybe organizations, maybe coaching situations? And you can put it in the chat. Where do you see level 1 showing up for people? Layoffs. Oh, huge. Yes. Fear. Yep. Relationships. Homeschooling. I saw a bunch of parents say, "You're ruining my life. You're ruining my child's life." I'm laughing. It's not funny because I think they're really feeling that. Of course they are. It's a totally normal response. Losing family to COVID. Absolutely. My mother-in-law working the weekend. When we don't have control or we don't have authority, when we feel like we're at the effect of something, we're experiencing level 1. Again, it is totally normal. We all experience this. The big question is, how long do I want to stay here? How long do I want to stay in this level 1 space? And if I do, what does that mean? I see some other people putting psychological safety issues, yes, being left out, furloughs, so many reasons that people are experiencing level 1 right now. And it's such a unique time in our history. I've been in mental health for over 20 years, and I have never in my 20 years seen the level of burnout, stress, overwhelm, depression than I have right now. And so as coaches, we have a really powerful opportunity to help people be aware of their experience and then decide what they want to do with it. We all know you can't get rid of the pandemic. We're slowly getting there, but we can manage how we look at the pandemic. We can manage how we observe what's gone on because of it. So that's level 1. Let's move up a little bit here and let's go to level 2. So level 2, when you're thinking in terms again of winning, losing, level 2 is essentially you're a loser and I'm a winner. Win, 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 lose, lose, lose. The thoughts are really conflictual thoughts. It's me against the world. It's me against you. You're right, I'm wrong, or I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. The feelings often are anger, and the action result are defiance. I'm going to show up with defiance. So where do you see this showing up in life? Level 2. By the way, if you have any teenagers or toddlers, you may be seeing some level 2 around your house, is all I'm going to say. Election results, politics. Look at all of you, right? Politics all over the place. The riots, my narcissistic father. Yes, a lot, so much level 2 that we've been seeing in our communities, in our country, in our environment, in our countries. So much level 2 right now. And where do you think this level 2 energy might lead to? What might it lead to besides riots in the American Capitol? But where else might it lead to? Actions, fights, conflict, disconnection, war, separation. Yes, yes, exactly. It could lead to level 1, hatred. Yes, and you can see when we're intentionally or unintentionally pushing people to level 2, people burn out, they're exhausted. If you've ever worked for somebody who has a lot of level 2 energy, stuff gets done at work and people are exhausted and burnt out and don't last. So yeah, there's action here, there's motion, but think of the long-term piece of this. I recently did a call with an executive, very successful executive, and he said, I am successful. People do what I tell them to do. We get work done here, and everybody hates me. And I said, so why are you reaching out to me now? And he said, because I cannot bear to think that I'm going to teach my sons that this is how we show up in the world. Woo, think about it. It works, but it works for the short run. And it drains us, drains us, drains us. I see people putting bully bosses, exactly, abuse. Happily, I'll show you the slide. Here it is. Level 2, we see so much of it in our environment right now. And again, completely normal and understandable. But if you stay here for the long run, draining and exhausting. And again, very, very catabolic in nature. All right, so let me just stop for a second and see if there are any questions before I move into some of the anabolic, well, into all of the anabolic levels. Any questions I can answer so far, and you can always put them in the chat if you'd like. All right, let's go to, we're moving into more anabolic energy levels. And so level 3 is really this kind of in-between space between catabolic and anabolic. It's more anabolic in nature, but there's still quite a bit of catabolic energy here. When you're thinking in terms of winning and losing, level 3 is I win. If you win too, great, fine. That's okay with me. When you think about the thoughts, feelings, and actions, the thoughts are taking responsibility. And it's really taking responsibility for how I'm showing up, for what I'm feeling, for what I'm thinking. So there's clearly a shift here. With catabolic energy, we essentially have blinders on. And with anabolic energy, we start to see more. We start to see our role in things. The feelings we have typically here are forgiveness, and the action is cooperation. There's some pros and cons to this level 3 concept. Listen carefully. Coaches sometimes get caught in this. If you've ever heard of the concept of spiritual bypassing, anybody ever heard of that? God, right? Lori's like, heard of it, got it. Spiritual bypassing is essentially when we pretend that nothing's ever wrong. It's all good. It's great. Oh, you lost your parents to COVID. What's the good side of that? It's just completely bypassing pain. And so can that work in the short run? Maybe, but not the long run. Not the long run. So level 3 can really be a band-aid that I feel better, but I'm tolerating something. I haven't explored deeper emotions. A common language you'll hear when someone's experiencing level 3 is it's okay. It's fine. They didn't mean to. It's all right. So we still see something wrong, but it's okay. Let's see, I'm seeing a couple of questions here. I want to make sure I'm getting these. Can you be at 2 levels at once? Yeah, so you're essentially experiencing all the levels, but the intensity of the levels at different times. So one might really show up predominantly depending on what's happening in your life. Let's see, Natalia's asking my question, how to bring a client to the idea that staying at the level 1 is the client's decision, not the decision of the world around. What a great question. I often ask people, what can you control here? And in times like this, you know what? There's one thing that they can control, how they look at something. The rest, they cannot. And so I always bring it back to my clients, what's your choice here? Can't change the pandemic. I mean, you can wear a mask, you can get vaccines, all that stuff, but it's here. So you can manage and think about how you're going to look at the situation. And that's where the power is. When people start to realize that they have the power over their thoughts and their feelings and their actions, then you see motion. Kevin's asking, when, if ever, are the catabolic levels more appropriate, helpful, or adaptive than the anabolic levels? Such a great question. So think in terms of grief. Grief is level 1. Should we not grieve? Of course not. Grief means we've loved. Grief is an essential part of humanity. Sometimes you just want to say, I'm out. I'm taking a break. My mother-in-law has a saying, anyone who knows me knows my mother-in-law's saying. Her saying is, I'm taking to the bed. So she's just had it with the world. She's taking to the bed. And that, to me, that's such a level 1 response. And periodically, it makes perfect sense to go there. Sometimes, in fact, we need to kind of dive into those levels, lower levels of energy, to really think about what it feels like to be on the higher levels of energy. And there's some motivation that goes with it. So perfectly normal and understandable to go to those different levels. It's really ultimately, is this where I want to stay? So let's take a look at energy level 4. So now we're really moving into the more anabolic energy levels. Level 4, when you think about winning and losing, level 4 is, I help you win. You're going to win, and I'm going to help you get there. It's a very giving place, that our thoughts are concern, our feelings are compassion, and our actions are service. Needless to say, coaches resonate heavily here. So do psychologists. So do anyone in the helping professions. I just did a whole series of talks for a number of physicians at a hospital in Kansas. Level 4 all over the place. In fact, at one point I said, can you ask someone else to go help your client, your patient, so you can actually be here for this talk that you paid for? Because they would get a call and they'd run off. There's just a ton of compassion here. So think about level 4. Where else might this show up for people? Where else might you see this? Or where might you see it in organizations? You can put in the chat if you'd like. Mom. Yeah, moms. Exactly. Teachers. Teachers right now, oh my gosh, they need our help. Teachers, the medical community, so much giving. Good managers, yes. It could be codependency. It's something we want to watch for. So this is a great point. There's really a lot of pros to level 4, because we give, we're compassionate, we're in service. There's some cons though. What might be the downside of this level 4 energy? Burnout. Exactly. You give, and suddenly you got nothing left for you. And so then we're burnt out. If we see, I'm working with a leader right now, he's got so much level 4 energy and he's exhausted. What also has happened is he's realized that he's enabled his team to not do things, because he does it for them. They come in and they know he'll do it. So they're like, oh, I can't figure this out. And he says, oh, don't worry, I'll take it. Next thing you know, he's doing everybody's work. So there is a downside to this, right? You can overgive, absolutely. Maybe not hold people accountable. Exactly. You could be a doormat ultimately. So pros and cons to this. Mostly we show up in a way that is really loving and caring. And so we want to watch the difference between enabling versus empowering. Excellent. All right, let's go to level 5. Energy. Hold on, let me get my screen back up here. So level 5, now we're like really cranking in this anabolic energy. Level 5, essentially, we both win. We both win or we don't play. It's a true win-win point of view. It's a place where our thoughts are reconciliation. Now, what do I mean by reconciliation? I mean that we've reconciled that it is what it is. And not it is what it is in a bad way, but it is, this is it. This is life. This is how things show up for us. There's pandemics, there's things that happen, there's weather things. And we really come to reconciliation that everything happens. And we come to that reconciliation without judgment. So we don't recognize things as good or bad. The feelings that come from this piece and the actions are true acceptance. When you're experiencing level 5 energy, you're really looking for opportunities. So when I told you the tale of 2 organizations, The one organization was very much in that victim mentality. Oh, poor us. This is a pandemic. We don't know what to do. And the other organization was like, what's the opportunity? A pandemic. We can come up with something. And all of a sudden, we've changed the way we've looked at it and we've opened our eyes. And this is the big difference between the catabolic and the anabolic energy. The anabolic energy opens our vision. We start to see possibilities. We could do this. Oh, we could actually get on Zoom. We could do this whole thing that we do from just a completely different point of view, and what fabulous things might come from that. So we really look for opportunities from level 5 perspective. So somebody's asking, is it possible to skip steps? It is. It is. And someone was asking, could it be a level of instability because there's less self-care for level 4? If we give and give too much, yes, absolutely, that's the case. So what examples can you think of right now where people or organizations utilized a level 5 perspective? I'm thinking of the NBA, like Peloton. Seriously, why didn't I think of, why didn't I invent Peloton first thing? Let's just say that alone. But brilliant. They have brilliantly moved into this market. It's unbelievable. ICFOC, there you go. What other organizations have you noticed? Cities turning parking spots into outdoor dining. So I went to visit my daughter, just moved to New York City because she's 23 and she can. The whole city is outside. It's unbelievable. It's outside. It's so fun. They have like 3 walls up and heaters. It's an absolute riot. I mean, come on, brilliant. Zoom, DoorDash, right? IPEC, we absolutely did. So many clever ways that people have turned a very challenging and trying situation into an opportunity. And many people into opportunities and to help other people. UK Personal Trainer did online gym. Love it. Free gym classes for kids and parents during the lockdown. Love it. Does this include individuals who can reconcile contradictory principles in their thinking? Elon Musk is a great example. He's got a lot of level 5 energy. Absolutely. A lot of our really creative leaders in the world have a lot of level 5. They're like, all right, let's think of something interesting we can do with this. Telehealth. Okay, why didn't we think of telehealth sooner? Can I just ask that question? I mean, because it's so fantastic. An allergist, why can I not just check in with an allergist on the phone? It's phenomenal. I love it. Authors, online courses, Clubhouse, unbelievable. Psychotherapy. We for years, we can't possibly do that. I guess all it took was a pandemic for us to realize that yes, actually we can. And now psychologists are saying, why can't we be licensed across the country? Why not? Hello, and think about it. Why do we not come up with these ideas? Because we think we can't, which goes back to the catabolic energy. No, we can't. We've never done it that way. Catabolic energy says, why not? I mean, anabolic energy says, why can't we? Right? Okay, let's go to, let me just stop here and get a drink of water and see if there are any questions while I'm not coughing in your ear. So I'm going to mute for 1 second. Okay, what questions can I answer? The mute button, by the way, is a level 5 opportunity. Any questions so far? Okay, let's move forward. So let's talk about level 6. Now we're really flying in this anabolic energy levels, in these anabolic energy levels. So level 6 is essentially we all win. We all win. The thoughts are true synthesis. And the synthesis is that we really believe and live as if we're all part of the bigger system, which, by the way, in case this pandemic taught you nothing, we are. That we're all connected. We're all in this together. And the feelings that come from that are joy, and the action results essentially wisdom. When I really believe that we're all in this together and I feel that connection, then wisdom just starts to move. The other things that happen when you're experiencing level 6, if you're saying like, I don't know what this level 6 thing looks like, couple things. How many times has your intuition like really kicked in? Like your gut said, don't do that, or do that. Intuition is level 6 energy. Another way that this really shows up, think about a time in your life that you were doing something where time just passed, hours passed, and you looked up and you were like, oh my gosh, it's been 4 hours. What happened? Because you were in the flow. You maybe were doing something artistic. Maybe you were writing. Maybe you were connecting with someone you really love. And time just passed. And you looked up and whoa, how did that happen? That's really the level 6 experience. And it is much more experiential than the other levels. So it's hard to put words to it. But think of times maybe where you've tapped into this. It's unlikely that you live here. Most of us don't live here. We have to do things like clean the bathroom and get stuff done, right? Like, oh, we're all in this together. Maybe someone will come to my home and clean my bathroom. Not fully likely. So you're going to tap into level 6, but maybe not live there all the time. And it really is this experience. Let's see, let me just check if there's any questions. No, okay. All right, let's look at level 7 and then I'll open it up for, well, actually, before I do that, let me ask all of you, running a marathon. I was just going to ask, how might this show up for some of you? Running a marathon is a perfect example when you get, not that I've ever run one, by the way, but I heard when you get past a certain point, absolutely dancing. Yes, dancing's huge. Praise and worship music, the Dalai Lama comes to mind. A lot of people say meditation, prayer, getting completely lost in writing. Yes, playing. You're playing something, a game, you're doing something. Is it possible to live at level 6 and still be alive? It is. It is. I love that question. It absolutely is. The people around you might be slightly annoyed, though. That's all I'm going to say. Like, where were you when we were doing the dishes? Well, I was living at level 6. I was busy, right? Creativity, Pilates, making love, coaching. I experienced it through the attention to my perception in the contact. Ooh, love that. So many interesting ways where you might be experiencing level 6 energy. My oldest son tells the funniest story. He did his semester abroad in Japan, obviously pre-COVID, and he stayed at a silent monastery. They don't talk at all, and they meditate and almost all day long. And so he said, they would be meditating, and then all of a sudden they'd ring this bell and it was lunchtime. And he said you had to watch out for your life because they would be like elbowing people to get to the food because they would want to eat really fast, and then they'd eat really fast because then they had a little bit of downtime where they could walk around outside. So it was like this level 6 experience, and then it was like, get out of my way, it's lunchtime, right? And so we can see how that happens, that there's really truly a mix of all of it. Let's take a look at level 7. I do wish my son had taken video of that, by the way, because I would like to see that in action. So level 7 is almost 100% anabolic energy. And again, the likelihood that we're hanging out here all the time, probably not, but we're tapping in here. Our thoughts here are true non-judgment. There's nothing to judge. Everything is as is. It's a feeling of absolute passion, and the actions related to it are creation. In level 7, in the level 7 experience, winning and losing are illusions. There's no such thing. You can't win or can't lose. And so there's a parable, and I'm going to totally mess it up. It's like me telling a joke, which you would never want to hear. But there's a parable about a Chinese farmer, and the Chinese farmer has this like prize racehorse. And the racehorse gets stolen, and all the community members run over and say, your beautiful horse got stolen. This is terrible. And he says, maybe yes, maybe no. The next day, the horse comes back with a bunch of other horses, and all the neighbors run over and say, oh my gosh, this is so great. And he says, maybe yes, maybe no. And then there's a whole series of things that happen. His son breaks his leg, but then he doesn't have to go to war, and it goes up and back. And so ultimately, who knows? And that's really that level 7 picture. Level 7 is when you think of, I'm trying to think of the right word. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. When you like don't care, apathy is the word. So there's a level 1 apathy, which is like, why bother? Like, why bother? there's also a level 7 apathy, and the level 7 apathy says, why bother? So it's complete disconnect, but from very different places. And that's the level 7 experience. I see lots of people putting in here, Shirzad. I actually did the Shirzad. He talks about that, the parable. He does such a better job than I just did in sharing it. Equanimity, yes, surrender. Teachers like Eckhart Tolle, I do think they tap into this energy more frequently than many of us do. Here's a great question. Can you differentiate between level 6 and level 7 experience? I I have such trouble putting words to both of them, but I think yes. I think when it's like a full, complete letting go of all judgment is the tapping into the level 7 experience. Um, Keegan's adult stages of development. Yeah, there's some components here. And as I mentioned, Bruce Schneider did quite a bit of research when he developed these. So you can see little components. Maslow talks about peak experiences. And I always think either level 6, level 7 are tied to those peak experiences. So, Lori, the duality versus oneness. This is a great point because level 7 is both. It is both. It's experiencing and observing the experience at the same time and participating with complete lack of judgment. Let's see. Any other thoughts or questions about the 7 levels? So let me give you a quick example of how the levels might show up for you. So before COVID, I took hot yoga and I was terrible at it at first. And then I thought that I was getting pretty good at it. So I'm taking this hot yoga class, which by the way, just for clarity see the picture, I'm always about 15 or 20 years older than the average student in the yoga classes, by the way. And if one tells the truth, 15 to 20 pounds heavier as well. Just want to add that piece. So I'm in a crowded hot yoga class and we're doing the pose where you like hold one leg up. It's like the dancer pose, which I'm so not going to demo here for you. And we're getting in this dancer pose and I'm thinking like, look at me, I'm in the dancer pose. And I'm thinking like, so great. Well, I fall, but I don't just fall. I like fall like this and I can't get my leg down. So I domino the whole class and everyone falls and everyone had like these water bottles that bang. And so they're banging, there's water, people are falling and it just chaos. And the guy in front of me is like shaking. He's laughing so hard his like shoulders are laughing. And so the teacher runs over. We get everybody cleaned up. The poor woman next to me, I could tell I probably injured her, but she was nice enough to smile at me. So everyone gets settled. We get back on our mats and I'm standing on my mat and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, who do I think I am? I can't do yoga. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too this. What was I thinking? What energy level? Level 1. Then I think, you know what? It's the guy in front of me. I couldn't see. It's all his fault. Level 2. Then I go to, it's fine. It's okay. So I made a complete fool out of myself. It's all right. It's going to be fine. Level 3. Then I have a little second of my poor teacher. She's so sweet. This just threw her whole class off. My poor teacher. Level 4. Then I go to, you know what? This gives me a really good opportunity to keep practicing dancer pose. I clearly have room for improvement on it. Level 5. I'm going to tell you, I did not hit level 6 or level 7 that day, but that happened in about a 2 to 3 minute time span, maybe even less, that I could see the experience happening. And that's really the idea, is the more you can become aware of what energy level you're experiencing, the more you can accept that experience. And then from there, you have the ability to choose what energy level you show up with. So someone asked, how can we use this in our coaching sessions? I use it all the time. I explain the concept. By the way, Bruce Schneider has a book. It's called Energy Leadership. So you could probably read the book and see a clear description of the 7 levels. He uses it in a organization, a relationship with a company. but I explain the concept. All of my clients take this an assessment that we give. It's called the Energy Leadership Index. Oh, Nanor has it. Thank you. There's the demo. Thanks, Nanor. Actually, if you want to just put it in the chat so people can see it. So all of my clients take an assessment that measures this, and then we use it as a debrief, and then we use it in our coaching relationship. So I might say to a client who, let's say, is making a big transition, I might say, what energy level are you looking at this transition from? And maybe he says a level 2. I'm like mad, I'm angry, I can't believe I have to do this. Okay, how would it feel to look at it from level 3? What might it look like from level 4? All of a sudden, they're shifting just by having that conversation. What would a level 5 look like? All of a sudden, the awareness shifts. So how I use it is that I help people have the awareness, 3 steps here, have the awareness what energy level they're experiencing, acceptance, accept whatever is, which is really that level 5 piece, and then choose. What energy level do I want to experience here? And then it's all choice from there on out. Let me show you how this might show up in how you can think of this as like your go-to energy level. Where do I want to go right now? Victim level 1, antagonist level 2, rationalizer level 3. Do I want to be a helper, a collaborator, a connector, a creator? And there's the 7 levels. And when people start to think in these terms, then they really think about choice. You know what? Right now, I'm going to level 3 this baby. I'm going to rationalize it away. Okay, great. Oh, wait, I might actually want to be a collaborator. I might want to come up with a cool idea for this. Here is how we might see leadership at every level. Level 1, leaders likely to play the victim and be at the effect of what happens on a team. They're going to be withdrawn, take very little responsibility. Level 2, leader will get stuff done, but at the cost of a lot, of cost of relationships, at the cost of motivation and goodwill. They'll cause burnout, they'll cause resentment. Level 3, the leader will take responsibility for how they show up, but they'll tolerate less than optimal situations and make excuses. So sometimes when an organization or a team is experiencing a lot of level 3, they're okay until they're not okay because they have left a number of unaddressed issues. Level 4, very highly caring and compassionate leader. They're always going to be thinking about the feelings of others before they make any decisions or start any projects. Level 5, the leader's going to look for an opportunity in any situation. Oh, a pandemic. What's the opportunity? So they won't see situations as problems, but rather as opportunities for growth. So anything that happens, here's an opportunity for us to grow in some way. A level 6 leader looks for opportunities to unite and connect other people. They truly believe we're all in this together, and success comes from the synergy, the really essentially the mastermind of the group. And that's a level 6 leader. The level 7 leader, by the way, is meditating, so don't disturb them. Right, so you might want to not disturb them. Leave them be if you could. Okay, so the big question. Oops, I moved that. Hold on one second. The big question is, what energy level do you want to share as a leader? What energy level do you want to resonate as a leader? It's a big question. And often we don't realize it. And this is where the consciousness piece comes in. You can take a picture of any slide, and you're going to get a copy of the slides as well, is my understanding. Is that right, Rafi? They're getting a copy? Yeah. Oh, there we go. Nanor said. Okay, excellent. So think about, how do I want to show up, and how will how I show up influence others, influence my family, influence the people that I work with? How is that going to play out? So let me stop here and see what questions or comments you have. And then I have a couple of little things to share with you. Plus, I needed to drink water. That was my opportunity. What questions or comments do you have about anything that I have covered so far?
I think, Lisa, there was a question that was unanswered about what is exactly the difference between level 6 and level 5?
Level 6 and level 5. So at level 6, it's a smaller difference than you might see like from 1 to 3, but level 5 is there's an acceptance, but not necessarily a full synergy. Level 6 is a bigger picture look at we're all in this together concept. So someone who's experiencing level 5 will see what's opportunity in the team or maybe in the situation that influences the team. A level 6 leader looks bigger. What's going on with the world? What's going on with the worldwide economy? What's going on with the environment worldwide? What does it mean that we landed on Mars recently? How's that going to play out for all of us? A leader experiencing level 6 will have that even grander or larger look. Let's see, I saw a couple other questions here. How would you deal with a predominant level 2 person? So this is really challenging. One way to do that as a coach and or as humans is to really hear them. Gosh, it sounds like you're so angry about this situation. It makes sense that you're angry. As coaches, we talk about acknowledging and validating people, really acknowledging and validating the feelings that they're having versus trying to talk them out of it. This is how they've learned to show up in the world. A number of people have asked me, how does gender play in this? How does race? How does ethnicity? It plays. And think about gender roles. How were we raised to show up based on gender roles? How might we have been raised to show up based on our race or our ethnicity or our religion? It all plays in there. So really not judging it and helping someone just be aware of their experience and normalizing it. Lots of opportunities there. Let's see, I see another, when working with teams, when trying to influence culture, do you suggest that they describe the culture and then you can ask what level energy will be needed to manifest this? Yes, very much so. I'll say, where do you want to go? What do you want to have happen for this team? And then what would you want to do in order to get there? And what energy level does it look like over there? And what energy level does it look like over here? And so what would need or what would you want to have happen to make that big shift? The survey is not in the energy leadership book. You can only get the survey through an IPEC certified coach that we offer, the Energy Leadership Index. So that's where you would find that. We're all trained and certified in order to do that. How do you help people go from knowledge of these levels to really knowing and experience it in sessions? It's hard to pinpoint what takes someone over that bridge. Love how you asked that. So I always debrief people on this assessment. I explain the 7 levels. We talk about how they are currently showing up for somebody and how they want them to show up. And then whenever possible, I'll say, what energy level do you think you're experiencing right now? What energy level do you want to experience? And to really have them start thinking in terms of what it would look like to experience things from a different point of view. The energy levels are just a different lens. It's a different lens at looking at something. Let's see, how can we as coaches become more aware of when we are giving up ourselves to our disadvantage? Oh, love this question. This is the question I ask my clients all the time. I say, what are you saying to yourself about this? And so when you think about what are you saying to yourself, are you saying, I can't do this. I can't move forward. I can't change. If that's what you're saying to yourself, then how do you feel and how are you showing up? And what would be something else you'd say to yourself to change how you feel and to change how you show up? And so really helping people be aware of what they're saying to themselves. Thanks, Rafi. Assessment details and research. Thank you all. Let's see. It's generational differences. This is a huge one as well. I forgot generation when I was talking about like the differences and how we think of the world, right? Think of people who grew up in the Depression. There's never enough, right? That's how they grew up in it. And that was really emphasized. I think our kids will see a very different world. Let's see. Oh, referring to a survey for this session. I think there's information there. Okay. Let's see. Is it correct that one can experience helplessness on the level 1 only? and can this level be at any value for a leader? Mostly when we get stuck in that helplessness, it is at that level one piece. And it can be a value for a leader. And why am I feeling stuck? What am I saying to myself about the situation that's leading me to feel stuck? How can I release that and look at this from a different point of view? Let's see. How do you find balance in focusing on more anabolic levels for clients, friends during a pandemic? Yes, versus coaching on sitting in your more catabolic feelings. I recently was called out by a spiritual leader, then having any focus on helping others reach more anabolic levels during a pandemic is insensitive. Okay, so this is a great question for coaches. We always want to acknowledge and validate whatever someone's experience is. My job is never to talk somebody into the anabolic energy levels, never. My job is to hold space if someone wants to go there. And there's a fine line in that, and how someone hears that could also be very different. I think it's a great question. I don't, Kevin, this is a great question. I don't know if there's any relationship between the 7 levels of effectiveness framework. I have no idea. And someone said, Betsy, I've heard criticisms of this model that it's just a repackaging of power versus force. I see this very different. Power versus force is something we talk about at IPEC, but this is much more detailed. I've heard a variety of you can see pieces of this in other things as you can see other things in pieces of this. I think Aristotle said there's nothing new, or basically anything he came up with since then is not really that new. So when someone asks, how do I change my energy so that I can have the thoughts and feelings that are more positive? This is where we say, really find out what's the messaging you're giving yourself and where did you get that messaging? So if I'm saying to myself, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, then obviously that's holding me back. Where did I get that messaging? Maybe I got it from childhood. Maybe it's been something that I've carried around for the last few years because things have gone on. Helping someone figure out why they might be stuck in that space, which that's a very short answer. And I know we have I promised I'd end at 5 till, so I'm going to end here in 1 second. I'm going to just put up, hold on, my, if you have any questions or if you want to contact me, I'm going to put that up. But I promised to end at 5 till, and I think it is exactly 5 till. So it's been just an absolute pleasure to be with all of you today, except for those of you who are bragging about the California weather. Then I'm really not having great feelings for you. I'm having some catabolic feelings about that.
Well, we'll try to send some sun and warmth your way. Thank you, Lisa, so much. I have loved this session, and you took such a big topic and you made it so concise, and you can see from everybody in the chat just how much value they got from it. We were talking about, should we let people go off mute so they can ask their questions, but you were doing such a great job answering them as they were coming up in the chat. We said we'll just keep it going this way. And for those of you that I was going to say, please share with Lisa the gems in the chat that you got from the event today. We have so many online that I want her to see all your things. So, Lisa, you're getting tons of thank yous.
Thank you all.
Just feel free to share the most valuable thing you got from the session today in the chat. And we love this presentation, Lisa. So we'll have you back as a speaker anytime.
I'd like to be invited back when I can actually show up in person, if I could just plant that seed.
Yeah, that we promise, Lisa, that when travel is allowed again and we can have in-person sessions, we will bring her back for an in-person session for those of you that are local. So
you all heard that. You're witnesses to that.
I'm seeing hearts and thumbs up and all of that. All right. Just really quick, let me see if I can share my screen so that you can see some of our upcoming events. So we have a packed March. So this is our lovely Lisa that we just got to see. In March, we have The Power of Resilience with Carmen Acton. We have our first book club meeting. We're gonna read The Advice Trap by Michael Stanier, and some of you actually heard him speak, so we're gonna read his book. We have a meeting on relational presence with Tina Mertel and Pam Noda. And then we have a meeting on how to stay connected in a disconnected world. And that promises to be very high energy, from what I know of Sylvia. Rafi, is there anything you'd like to add about any of these sessions, or anything before we wrap up today?
No, I wanted to send a message directly to Lisa. It was so cool to see her. I just missed the days where I was just the student there listening to her. But she has a whole program running for, it's like a graduate program, right, Lisa, at IPEC as well. So she's recording all these videos. So I can, enjoy her from time to time. Yeah.
Thanks, Rafi. It was great to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. We were Rafi and Lisa and I, when we were talking about the prep, we were talking about, gosh, wouldn't it be great if there was graduate school for coaches? And those of you who are veterans, she was talking about how they are working on a program for that. So I thought that would be pretty awesome. Nanor, do you have any last words, requests, comments before we wrap up today?
I just wanted to say that, a few people were asking about the energy leadership assessment, and I believe we have several IPEC graduates, like Janine and Rafi, that, if you wanted to go through it, they could support you guys in that. So you can feel free to reach out to them. But more than anything else, Lisa, like, this was so good. And, you started off with, this isn't a diagnostic, but like a self-awareness. And as I got it, like, as you were speaking throughout, I'm like, oh yeah, if I was aware of that, then I can do this. And if I were aware of this, I could do that.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. We have loved having you. Thank you all for being here and being part of our ICF community of growth and coaching skills. And we just love your engagement. And we really appreciate all of you. And we look forward to having you at the next session. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Hey, Lisa.
Bye.
Bye.